What kind of stereo widening tools do you think Tchaikovsky would endorse these days? Would he be a mid-side guy, or would you just go for that fakey widening stuff?
I don't know. He's most famous for a Canon, so I think that he's really interested in the mid.
It's true.
He probably is a mono guy.
Yeah.
Are we live? Are mics live?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if Tchaikovsky was around today, he might have invented BX control.
Tchaikovsky would be so disappointed if he was around today. He'd be like, look at what I built for you, world. And this is what you've brought it to? Yeah, it wouldn't be great, that's all I'm saying.
It might not be great, but would it be bad?
I think he would think it's pretty bad. I think he'd assess the state of the world. He'd be like, an artist last year that was famous was named Lil Yachty.
Lil Yachty!
I brought you the 1812 Overture, and now you've got Lil Yachty. Yeah, I don't think Tchaikovsky would be happy about that.
You can hear his displeasure.
It's not just displeasure, it's disdain. It's disgust.
Disdain versus sustain.
He would appreciate the sustain. Tchaikovsky would definitely be like all over that.
Oh yeah, Tchaikovsky on trap. I don't know, he might be into it. He was pretty innovative, I guess.
Stupid bot. I need to turn that off. My restream bot posts my regular channel.
Bots are never that bad.
Never that good either.
Apparently, Tchaikovsky disagrees heartily with me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from Kansas City, it's Gear-Splaining 48. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, y'all. So, I'm hanging out here in KC, so it's gonna be a little bit weird of a production today. Just letting everyone know. I apologize if I gotta find a place to put my laptop. Actually, it's not quite perfect anywhere. Hold on. So here's the console. So my laptop is going on this icon somewhere. What we got going on here is I brought my Matriarch and Obi 6 down. So Justin Wilson, I've known, he's one of the guys who got me into electronic music. He's absolutely brilliant musician, just stunningly creative and professional and good. And he's really, that seems okay. Really working on developing what he does to another level right now, by which I mean, he was already as good as you possibly could be for doing like engineering work, and his composition was already wonderful. What he's looking to do is get he's a professional. He's an industry guy. He's got a Grammy, you know, and he's also more creative probably than a lot of artists that he produced. So what he's really looking to do is to try to like aim his canon of professional skills back at his own artistry right now, and that's a profound thing because it's like a journey of self-discovery, and it's trying to, you know, reinvent yourself back to a state that you were in a long time ago, which is a difficult thing to do. And so he has a wonderful studio here that he knows inside and out and how to use. And he's one of us too. So slightly out of frame, he's got literally 3 machines and then an MC707. And that's what we've been working all day. He has Machine Studio, Machine Jam, and then a Control 61. And it's gorgeous stuff. The studio itself is it's a work of art. I don't even know how else to describe it. The room confirm. The room is absolutely stunning. I'm in the control room right now. Ironically, he's got these 2 very expensive Tannoy speakers, but he has Adams that he prefers. I asked him about it. He said, "Well, it's because these speakers, they were someone else's. Adams are what I really liked, and they're the first time I ever was able to like put in my own. So these are like the highest end Adams that he has behind the console, and that's what we've been listening to and jamming through all day. This studio itself has a famous reputation for a long time being where famous jazz musicians came, where orchestras and choirs recorded, and he, I think, has done about 500 records out of this area over the last 10 years. It's a significant amount of burn. And that's a lot of production. It's a lot of doing, you know, and now he's working on doing it back to himself and pushing that level of capability onto his own artistry. And I can confirm for you all that this isn't just a guy who shows up as an engineer in a studio. This is someone whose creativity is equal or more energetic than any of the engineering. So it should be exciting to see what he comes up with, because it's not going to be anything predictable or anything anybody can expect. And the approach he's taking to it is very much play, just see what's inside of him that wants to come out right now from a creative perspective. So I came down here. I used to do this every year, twice a year, and he would also come up. And so since he's at this crossroads, I wanted to come down here and have had some reasons. I really, really wanted to get down here and see him, and him being at this kind of state where, you know, about to step into what's next. I wanted to at least be here for. So that's one of the reasons I came down, and it's been great hanging out with him. We spent all day. So here's a funny story. We spent all day making music, but before that, we spent a lot of the time patching stuff in. So I brought the Matrix and the OB6, and I left the cables behind. I was like, he's going to have MIDI cables. It's a gorgeous studio. And so I get here and we start patching. He's like, "Oh, these need MIDI?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "We haven't used MIDI at all in this studio in like 10 years. The only MIDI gear they've really used is so people may bring it in like other artists, but he has like MIDI gear, but it's all over USB. And, you know, he's MC707 machine, very much in the box stuff. So yep. Getting down with some analog is really interesting to him. And we had to go to Guitar Center this morning and buy cables. And so it's fun. It makes me feel like I'm able to, you know, re-expose him to something that he hasn't touched in a long time. And that's kind of awesome. His background is he's a really wonderful keyboard player as well. So as far as just a musicality, he's trained. He's very comfortable playing on keyboard, and so that's also another great thing to be around, is someone who has kind of a musical expertise well outside of my own, which is really about beat making. My own, I know my ingredients: beat making, timbre, development of sound. Those are the areas where I excel, playing with tension. Musicality can be something of a baseline, but I don't get too much further than kind of like punk rock or funk riffs, right? Whereas he can go into really advanced jazz stuff. Anyway, so here we are, and I'll walk around the studio in a little bit, show you guys what's up. But I just wanted to explain to everyone a little bit about where I am and what I'm doing this week. Also at work, we're not busy, so it was easy for me to take kind of some short notice days off. Anyway, how you doing, Co? What's going on lately?
I'm all right. Earth's Moon, what's going on? Glad you could drop in. Of course, IX. How you doing?
How you
Doug,
doing, X?
Girl Geek, and everybody else who's hanging out. So
Yeah.
I'm just getting ready. I'm sifting through literally hundreds of tracks trying to find what it is that I'm going to bring to a little Chicago party in 3 days.
It is still my intention to go. I plan on being there and dance my ass off. Right now, I am literally 2 states away, so we will see. In order for that to happen, it means I need to get out of here in time to get there, and then spend the day with the kids, and then get out there. So it's still my goal to come. I want to be at that show. Busy week. Then it'll be back to full reality that Sunday because
Ooh.
Yeah, full reality is just back. Hey Earth, peanut duty for life. That's right. Always asleep by now? Well, I don't know. When I was where you're at, I think I was always asleep and then I was always awake. It was like every hour and a half. Sleep where you can get it, brother man. Open set, how you doing? So there is some news that I want to cover. There's some smaller news, some interesting news, and then one gigantic megaton bomb piece of news that we're going to cover. We're not going to jump right on into that, though, because one of our old favorites is sort of kind of in the news. Remember 2 weeks ago, there was a story, there's more news on Placido Domingo, or his, acronym Placido Domingo.
Placido Domingo.
He keeps making the news, and it's hysterical to me. He apparently has unapologized for all the raping. He unapologized for
he unapologized, or he apologized?
Yep. He officially backpedaled on the public apology.
Nice. That's class.
Didn't mean what he said when he said he was contrite, and because his apology was, look, I think that I thought it was one way and women obviously thought it was another way, and this is learning experience. It's a decently well-crafted PR move apology, but this one is taking it back. Nope. No longer apologizing for all the raping and all the bad stuff that he did. And apparently, I'm sorry that I said I was sorry. I'm sorry I said I was sorry.
I'm sorry you were offended.
Basically what he came out with and said today. And people are just like straight up quitting from the union, and it's just collapsing everything. So there's your weekly Placido Domingo sexual harassment update. If there's something we weirdly cover a lot of on here, it's Papa John and Placido Domingo. I don't know why we cover those two things all the time, but we do. There's one other piece of music news that I think is worth going over, but I need to hear from chat if it's okay if I post something semi-political and then discuss it. I promise to not get into the actual politics of it, but I think we need to all be a little bit mature when we look at this. So I ask you, chat, if it's all right if we go there. Still music related. Open set is fine with political stuff. Give me 2 more people saying they're fine, and we'll do this. We keep the political stuff out of the Discord, but all right, Doug is good. One more, and we're in. We keep the political stuff out of the Discord, but we can go over here. It's our show. All right, A. Bridgewater gives us the whatever. Let's do it. Public Enemy was in the news this week. So here's something weird. Public Enemy has fired Flava Flav because Flava Flav was upset that they were performing at a Bernie Sanders rally. That's the political part. I don't quite understand, why, does he not like him politically, or does he not want to be involved in anything political? He had some kind of objection to it. And apparently there's different versions, business-wise, of Public Enemy. There's Public Enemy Radio, and he wasn't even an owner or a founder. He was more just a hired gun anyway. To me, I would never go see Public Enemy if Flavor Flav was not going to be there. To me, to see Public Enemy, and I've seen them. I saw them at Summerfest a few years ago, and it was an awesome show. It was a lot of fun. There's literally no point in going to see Public Enemy without Flavor Flav. He's like half the fun. So I'm not sure that firing him is really that great of an idea. He may contractually and legally be just kind of like a hired gun. But if you're expecting Public Enemy to still be Public Enemy and it's just Chuck D, I mean, sure, Mick Jagger without Keith Richards is probably still interesting and worth seeing. But if he's going to call himself the Rolling Stones, I'm probably going to be like, I just disagree. So anyway, Flavor Flav is officially fired and no longer in Public Enemy. So that is the other big piece of music news this week.
I guess they made enough money.
Yeah, I guess they were like, this was enough money. We can do this now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do this. All right. So here is the big news for this week. And this was a cataclysm of shit happening on the internet because of this. I guess we should probably play the video or show it at least. Because I got some thoughts. I got to do some splaining on this. I'm sure you got your thoughts on it too.
Which one are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about Uli.
Oh, Uli. Sorry.
Oh, wait, real quick. Earth's Moon, the rebirth of the giant clock. I saw a joke about the Public Enemy thing. It was that they ushered him into early retirement and gave him a giant gold clock or something like that, which is pretty funny.
Gotta find a better way to pull these damn ads. All right, so anyway. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the thing that we discussed probably ad nauseum, but wow.
Yep.
Way to lob a bomb, Uli. If there was anybody left who didn't hate you, there's probably still people left that don't hate you, but boy, that number has to be dwindling by now.
This was not received lightly. This was not received lightly. So for those who aren't aware, what you're looking at here is a joke that Uli put out, although he kind of hedged on it and said that it was his marketing department, but whatever. We all know it's fucking Uli, okay? This is the Kern cork sniffer. And it was a direct attack on Peter Kern, who is CDM owner-operator of Meeblip Synths, and he writes for a decade now at least about synthesizers in the music technology world. Respected elder guy, great producer. Peter Kern's a good guy. And like many of us and many other people, he has frequently criticized Behringer for their practices, but he's been very fair about it, but he's also criticized them. And let's be honest, Behringer is not like they're worthy of criticism. It's not great. They put this out. It's called the cork sniffer, and then they put out a definition for cork sniffer, which is apparently someone who, people on forums who don't actually use the things, who just do nothing but critique. In other words, they're calling him a cork sniffer. They've rendered it as beautifully high rendering.
Look at the depth of field.
Yeah, it looked almost real, right?
The placement
it's obviously not a real product.
The placement of the cork isn't quite right, but
they also put out like a children's toy and called it the Kern, a video with that, and then they trademarked the name Kern so they could put out products under Kern. Like, they really hate this fucking guy. Uli really has it out for Peter Kern, who's, just a journalist who is occasionally critical of Peter Kern. Apparently, the trigger was Peter Kern recently wrote about the incident in which Uli sued a bunch of Gear Sluts and forum members, including a DSI employee, and Dave Smith paid for legal defense and beat Uli back for criticizing Uli. Literally, on a forum, tried to sue regular members. Now, Behringer has been a very controversial manufacturer for many years and for a lot of reasons, which I don't think we need to go into here. We've talked about that a lot, and I think a lot of people have their own opinion. what I don't think is really up for debate, although some people have actually put some debate on it, is this. The first is going after a journalist like this is fucked up. It's real fucked up. This is dirty. And then perhaps, to me, underneath a very thin 4chan-esque layer of plausible deniability, this image is anti-Semitic. They described it as not anti-Semitic. It's just a picture of Pinocchio with some good humor. Now, I have children. We've watched Pinocchio. I know what he looks like. That is not fucking Pinocchio. You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of The Happy Merchant, which was Third Reich propaganda about Jews. The way the hands are held, the imagery regarding the eyes, the glasses, the large nose, the beard, the smile, the entire orientation of it. And this is not like a company that has like a sterling reputation for this kind of awareness. So when I say that this sends out every single signal immediately of an anti-Semitic image, I mean it. It just does. Anyone who wants to argue with it, I don't blame you, because I believe that you probably haven't. I'm Jewish. I grew up. My family tree only goes back to my grandfather and my grandmother, and grew up going to temple and hearing about the Holocaust and the propaganda and the way it all happened and unfurled. So I was built to know what this stuff looks like. And I don't know that everybody has that same experience. So I'll be the one to tell you that, yes, this is an anti-Semitic image. I believe that some people also say that it isn't, because they don't want Behringer gear to have that taint. They want to have at least the level of plausible deniability where it's not crossing the line into outright racism. And it's just, well, they fucked with a journalist, and that's much easier to kind of like sign off on and still be okay with. But it is. It's anti-Semitic. It just is. Sorry if anyone wants to disagree on that. This is anti-Semitism. It may not have been directly used anti-Semitism. They might have been like, let's insult Jews while we're going after Peter Kern, but the imaging that they used was anti-Semitic. It just was. And I think Uli's part of some large conspiracy that's trying to hurt Jewish people. I don't. Do I think that he may be kind of a rascally person who just occasionally fucks up? I don't. I think he's an incredibly ruthless and calculating businessman who tries to get every advantage, and also is very much geared towards hurting people who get in his way. So when I think of all that and I see this image, I think that he was trying to hurt Peter Kern by going with an association, which in his mind is a bad thing, which was this image, and that's how it came out. They did later apologize, and then they retracted the fucking apology. They deleted it. They got rid of it. So their apology, they're kind of pulling the Placido Domingo. Whoops, I'm sorry that you felt like I was sorry kind of thing. So here is the way this has played out in the sort of synthverse. There's a lot of people who have Behringer gear. I have Behringer gear. I have the TD3. It's a lot of people who, more than just having Behringer gear, have based a lot of their identity and their even income stream on it. There is a lot of YouTubers who cover Behringer gear who rely on the stay stream of things to come out for coverage, and then they name their videos and they have a reputation for covering Behringer, or they have it and they're kind of fanboys, and that cheerleaderism is kind of associated with them, and their income and their identity is tied up in it. And that group as a whole has reacted most poorly of anybody to this. And I probably can't even speak to like the most significant one, but if you pay attention to the large synth communities, there was a major fracture this week based on this, wherein one person who is very much down and through the rabbit hole regarding Behringer gear decided that they had to go all in and stick with it. And then the other people in that group ended up leaving, and one of the major synth groups fell apart, just straight up fell apart. I don't understand I sort of understand the difficulty there. If you've based your income and your identity and how you present yourself on something, and then it makes a turn like this, that makes it very hard to have a very honest conversation about what we're actually looking at and dealing with here. For a long time, I and many others have felt that some of Behringer's business practices were harmful in a whole to the industry, but it's hard to pin those kind of things down because these are very complex things. However, trying to destroy and insult and tarnish the reputation, livelihood, and life of a journalist who disagrees with you, as well as doing that using anti-Semitic imagery, should not be things that are acceptable or write-offable. These should require a massive apology and then a change in behavior. And they clearly aren't. They've dug in, they've gone the other direction. I don't know exactly what to say for Behringer. For myself, I'm conflicted about using the TD3. I'm for sure going to be getting rid of the Behringer logo on it. There's absolutely a 0% chance I'm going to have that on there. I'm going to use a peace symbol or gay pride flag, something that represents tolerance and love, and sort of the opposite of this kind of ruthless aggression that they seem to believe is appropriate for the world. In addition, here's another piece of information I found out. NobCon, Behringer was there 2 years ago. They weren't there last year. I didn't even remember that they weren't there, but they weren't. It turns out they were supposed to have been, and that they then ditched and stiffed suit and tie guy on about $3,000 worth of obligations. They bought a table, they reserved it, a large table, and then they just didn't show up, which is a very Behringer thing to do. They don't go to NAMM. They have Banaheim, right, which is Behringer Anaheim, and they're in a hotel across the street. They don't design their own products. Instead, they rip off other people's products. And this fake synth, this cork sniffer itself was a goddamn ripoff. This cork sniffer bullshit there's a Blammo product.
It wasn't even an original racist joke.
Yeah. Say what you will about the racism part. The original one wasn't racist. The original one had just a regular nose and didn't have any kind of ethnic awareness at all. But yeah, it's another product. When they're ripping people off and making off-color jokes that have racial overtones, even then they're still not able to be innovative or original. They literally get by splitting the energy of others. They don't go to NAMM. NAMM, no one would be in Anaheim in the industry on those days, that weekend, if it weren't for NAMM, aside from people who live there already. It would be pointless. So them just choosing not to pay for the fucking booth and going across the street and inviting people over for product reveals and hype demos, it's a nonsense move for a trade show. Stiffing a NobCon of that kind of money, that is not cool. And then this ripping off designs is not cool, and going after journalists who disagree with all that is also very much out of line. So that's Behringer, and that's who we live with. They're one of the big ones in the industry right now, and I honestly got hope that this takes a lot of people who are on the pause or maybe selling themselves on, okay, it's not fully ethically clear, but it's not a condemnable act, that they copied the rule in TB 303. And instead, I really hope that people then take it as, yeah, fuck that, I'm not touching it, and not getting another dime. And maybe he moves on to something else. Blackpool hopes they make a ton of cash and gets class actioned. I hope Behringer makes no cash, honestly. They're ripping off other people's designs. There are good engineers who work at Behringer who get forced to do nonsense because of this. Their Glassdoor is one of the most atrocious places I've ever seen. Literally everybody who posts to it, and yes, that's kind of what you do on Glassdoor, but this is an actually uniquely bad version of it. Posts about how they hate it, how they hate what they're asked to do, their talents are being wasted, etc. And they are, because if you are a good engineer, you're not going to be. There's the cork sniffer. That's the original one. This is an original pedal. It has this art style that is a little bit kind of edgy. It's cartoony, and a little bit, I don't know if I would say offensive. There's flies, so it's like maybe you're smelling cork sniffer doesn't smell good. it's out there. It's not, the strictly.
This is cork sniffer in the sense of a cork sniffer, like, a person who's just like, oh, I know all the things and have an opinion about synths, even though I don't actually play, and I'm gonna be a forum warrior. Like, that's what that is. That's what it's supposed to be. But
Yep.
then Uli had to take it
Make it about
in a
a
different
journalist
direction.
and use anti-Semitic. It's crazy, right?
Also, there was never mind.
Doug says he would never purchase, or he'd purchase an Allen SQ or QU over an X32, M32, or Wing, as would I. I wouldn't blame anybody who has those things right now, but I think moving forward, a lot of people would not buy the refresh or just not go that direction. I know at least one person who was going to get the Wing who is now not going to get the Wing. I am a person who buys gear. I love synthesizers. I spend money on it. And I've not bought much Behringer, but I was on a fence because I did like the TD3, and the Crave seemed like, although 90% a ripoff of the Mother 32, it's still original enough that I could see myself being okay with it.
The Crave was interesting. I was going to pick up a Crave.
I'm not picking that up anymore.
No, operative word was.
Yeah. And I know he doesn't care about my sale, and he doesn't care about the one guy who wasn't going to buy a Wing, but these are real sales that he's now not going to make. And there are people who I don't know who are also going to move on and aren't going to give him a chance. This is going to affect future revenue, and it has affected his business already. So the first major way that affected his business is this was a massive amount of negative coverage. Now you have heard that everyone's heard any publicity is good publicity, and I think that's probably more true if you're like a controversial rock star kind of thing. But if you're, a manufacturer, that's probably not that true. That's probably not always true. Sure, there's a lot of forum warriors who will get culty and defend you, but people investing $3,000, $4,000 in a Wing aren't going to make that purchase, and they're just going to skip right past it. Here's the most tangible effect, though. They were going to list. They were going to go public. Uli's big payday was here. It was listed. They've been talking about it on their LinkedIn page. This was something that was about to come, and now they're not. They canceled it. They deleted and removed all information about it, which is like, that's how they do it. On their YouTube pages, everybody was saying negative stuff. They just deleted the comments. They're not tolerant of any conversation that is negative at all. They also got rid of everything that indicated that they were ever looking to go public. Hey, homeroom, what's happening?
Homeroom.
How you?
How you doing?
So this is, if you build a corporation like this, going public is your big moment, because that's when you go from having wealth that is tied up in the company and a good paycheck to now having a ton of money in the bank. Yourself, your own money, obligated to nothing. You can spend it on Frosted Flakes and whatever you want all day long. I don't know why I said Frosted Flakes, but that is just what came to mind.
Some people just want those Frosted Flakes,
They're great. They are great, So that's, I bet they do relist. I bet that he does shape up enough and the business stays intact, and that's unfortunate. These are the kind of things that should crack companies wide open. And if they were public already, he'd be gone. That's another thing.
The tea is yet to be
We've
served.
We've covered Papa John's ad nauseum, and he actually did far less, and he got forced out by the board.
He ate far more, but
he also ate far more. You know what? We should find out how many pizzas Uli could eat in a month. You think if we asked him that we'd be able to find out?
I'll tell you what.
That's a tenuous connection.
I'll tell you what. If he shows up to NobCon, we all pull together and we buy him 40 of the shittiest pizzas possible, have them delivered to his booth, prepaid, with the instruction to just drop it off on the display table.
It's got to be like Joe's Pizza.
Yeah, and then we all walk up there. It could be like Domino's, like with garlic crust or something fucked up. And just walk over there, a bunch of us, and just be like, how many can you eat, man?
Yep.
Papa John was able to do 30 and 30.
Are you saying Papa John's better than you? Eat up.
Yeah, eat up. And then make sure to film it. And I just want to see what the reaction is. Then again, it won't be Uli there. It'll be, some poor bastard that works for him.
Some crony, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be there either. So I had an idea, and it was to go to NobCon and pop corks. I think Abe Bridgewater was like, "Yeah, you can actually do this with Behringer wine," and so that would have been it, which would have been perfect because it would be cheap knockoff wine for the cheap knockoff. So I floated that with Jim Haywood, the guy who runs Synth Memes, and he was all about it. He was like, "Let's do it." And then Suit and Tie guy, who is the guy who puts forth NobCon, was like, "Nah, it's not going to happen. They still owe me money from last year. They weren't there last year, and since they didn't pay, they're not going to be there this year. So screw this." So yeah, we're not going to get our chance to live troll.
That's
Behringer
really
yet.
mind blowing, though, that they stiffed somebody in the community like that. They basically made it so they can't show up to that event anymore. Nice job.
And here's what sucks about that is that really happened. That's a community member who puts a labor of love out there, and like screwing that guy. He's not a giant corporation. You're not going to war with another corporation. You're going to war with like 3 people, right? One person primarily, and they can't win in like a litigation sense. We can throw lawyers at it, and they also need their reputation with the whole community to maintain itself. So it's not like they can come out and say, "Oh, Behringer stiffed us," because then all the Behringer fanboys get negative and crazy on him, and that could have an effect on his livelihood. So it's not like he came forth and publicized that until recently. And that's another thing. Is a lot of people who've had issues with Behringer who haven't said much for fear of pissing off his rather large devoted following of kind of cult-like followers have skipped on that. Because, or are now actually feeling more comfortable sharing what's happened to them because Uli's a lot more vulnerable because of his own damn stupid fault. Isn't that some bullshit? I mean, I don't know how much he makes off NobCon, but $300,000 has to put a dent in that, right? It just has to.
What a piece of crap.
Yep. Uli's a giant piece of shit. And I'm going to find a sticker. I know Meow is sending out stickers. I don't know if anybody else saw that. I sent him my address, and I think that will be... if it fits right, that's definitely going on my my TD3, and that's how I will get over the fact that I have something from Behringer.
Just to address something that Doug said really quick, because I've heard this a couple times with various far out conferences and whatnot. If the coronavirus is still a substantial issue come, September, we'll have way bigger problems than not being able to attend a synth event.
Yeah, if it's still a substantial issue, that will indicate that supply chain lines are also down and have been for 9 months.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, we'll be dealing with a global depression, and it's going to be fucking Mad Max time. It's not going to be...
Yeah. We can't get together and celebrate synthesizer. It'll be like, no, we need to go battle somebody for that last piece of ground beef.
Yeah, I'm going to... Oh, did I kill my neighbor because they had several gallons of gasoline? Yes, I did.
Or water.
Yep. It's gonna be that kind of shit if this hasn't laid off enough. And that's not talking about like the severity of the impact of the actual disease. I know this is a gear focused show, so it's hard for us to like really cover it. But I'm like everyone, I've really read into it. I have kids, and I don't want them to get sick, and I want to know what's going on, things in my life, job, all those things. So I've done a decent amount of reading. It doesn't sound like I'm going to die from it. It sounds like if I caught it, and there's a decent chance it's coming for me, I'd probably survive.
Yeah,
I'm like the exact type of person who survives that and has a mild version of it. I'm healthy.
So
I'm not young or old.
I think it's something like a 2% mortality rate, which is awful and terrible, but it also means that you have a 98% chance of being perfectly fine. And it's probably actually higher because you're in the middle of that bell curve. You're not on the edges where you actually have that, 2% mortality.
But we do have to shut shit down if 2%
Yes.
mortality is careening through the population, because we don't want our old people to die, and we don't want our kids to get sick and have increased mortality rates. Those are awful things, and they're not acceptable in society.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that certain things start happening, including massive slowdowns in production coming from overseas. And as it starts to spread over here, you're going to start to see things like cancellations and containment procedures. And this is all also temporary to a degree, because there will eventually be a vaccine, and there will eventually be containment measures that work, and it'll hit a much more manageable level, just like every single one of these outbreaks eventually does. In the meantime, though, if shit doesn't start selling, if stuff doesn't start getting produced, supply and demand lines all just fall apart, and the
It's
world literally falls into an
yeah,
apocalypse, because
it's
people gotta
already
eat.
so for technology, that's already happening. Like the ripples are happening because a lot of the technology sector was already in a little bit of a back off because we have too much stock. And so they slowed down production, and then the coronavirus hit. And so now it's just like, oh, we're super screwed. And it's going to take, probably 6 months, a year, maybe more until it gets back on track, which means that what does that mean for you out there? It means that if you go to buy like a new SSD for your computer, it's going to be really expensive soon. Or if you need to buy a new laptop, it's probably going to come at a premium, for the next year or so. But, if it persists all the way, at its current pace until like September when NobCon is, yeah, we'll have bigger problems than expensive SSDs.
And as long as we're talking about impacts to technology, I think that it could impact availability of new synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one heavily desired synth is the Super 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to have trouble making those in large quantities. I think that what's under the hood there is some decently advanced technology for a synthesizer that is going to be, it's very compute technology oriented. It's made overseas. It's the exact combination of things that gets slowed down from a supply chain perspective. I think that if there's a lot of orders on that, it's going to be a while until the people actually get those. It's going to be the other side of this outbreak. And that could affect other things too. Could be affecting hydras. It could affect Moogs. I mean, Moogs get integrated here in the United States, but that's a production line, and they don't get all their parts here. They get their parts from overseas as well. I mean, it's a global supply chain for all of this stuff. So now, on the other hand, if you are a big-time synth head and Ableton user, there's a decent chance you're not going to catch this because you don't leave your cave. So take heart. You're probably not going to be infected if you are just, if you're coherent, you're probably not getting infected unless Lisa brings it home, because you work from home, your hobbies are on your computer, which is also at home, and you can pretty easily just be like, I'll just see people in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
You guys work it out. Let me know when you're done.
Yep. You have the internet. We'll be able to get a hold of you once we're done, strip mining our neighbors' cars for elements, and
Yep. I'll have to come upstairs every once in a
melting them a bit.
while when I hear like a banging noise or something, and then just like point my faux shotgun at them and be like, "Get off my front porch!
Yeah,
That garbage can is not for you.
So
Here's a
in
frozen
summary,
burrito. Go figure it out."
at the moment, I'm planning on NobCon because, if NobCon isn't happening, then, the world will have gone real bad real quick. So there it is. That's just how this goes. It's going bad in some places already. Like, I know a woman, and this is getting a little off topic, but she has a special needs daughter, 1 year old, has mysterious illness and has since born, and is immune deficient, and she can't get hand sanitizer because paranoid people bought out all the hand sanitizer in Sam's Club, Costco, and grocery stores, and it's very hard to get hand sanitizer right now. And it's not going to help any of those people, except maybe to make them feel less paranoid that they can, get through the next 6 months without, replenishing their hand sanitizer levels. But for her, if like a normal non-coronavirus disease slips through it and gets to her daughter, that could be it. So it actually literally is creating a major issue for her. So I don't know. If there's one thing you take away from this Gear-Splaining, it's fuck if I know. I don't know. Human
It's
nature sometimes really sucks.
in the world, in the words of Douglas Adams, don't panic.
Don't panic.
Just use
Don't panic, but
use Ableton.
keep on planning on NopCon, guys. If you're going, let's just hope that it's happening. I think there's every reason to believe that it will be. You know, but I totally could be wrong on that. NopCon could get totally screwed up. All right, let's check chat. What do we got going on? Stocking up on mover fogers.
Yep. Priorities.
I think that's a great idea. Unfortunately, there's already a constraint on those just because they stopped making them. More people still want them. But if you can get a bunch of mover fogers, you absolutely should. Let's see what else we got going on. That's like the big news. Uli, coronavirus, Flavor Flav, and Public Enemy splitting, and then more Flacito Domingo.
Flacito Domingo.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Man,
I
that's
didn't have
crazy.
that much else to cover.
The coronavirus is actually expanding its reach a little bit in Iceland. I always thought that was odd that Iceland was one of the early places to pick it up. But they've gone from their one case a mere week ago up to 26 now. Although all 26 have recovered. Nope, they're existing. Never mind. This is a ridiculously long flu. Stupid flu.
So
how do we like the MC707? Well, I don't know. I don't have one. I think it's pretty cool though. I think it's very expensive, and I don't think I need a full production Groovebox workstation thing. But if I did, that would definitely be on top, top of the list.
There's one right here. I'm literally looking at one. Justin has one, and it's I mean, we used it a little bit. We want to like tomorrow or maybe Friday, like try doing like only an MC707 stream. That would be kind of, or not stream, just see what we can come up with, just jamming on MC707. That would be kind of cool. I don't know how it works well enough to be able to say that I'd be able to do it. Hold on.
Hold up one sec. So Eli, first of all, where'd you get, you going to TwitchCon 2020 in Amsterdam? That's crazy. Second of all, he spilled soy sauce on his 707.
Wait, what?
He spilled soy sauce on his 707.
Eli, what'd you do?
He fixed it though.
All right, let's see. I'm the first person I know to take an MC707 apart. Oh, hell yeah! You know, you got to take your stuff apart. If you don't void the royalty, are you really using your own gear, or does it use you? Another date we have to celebrate, 707. You know, the MC707 is really cool, but it hasn't hit classic status. And to me, the 707 Groovebox, while it still is a pretty good Groovebox, and there's some classic sounds, it doesn't hit the holy trinity of 303, 808, 909. Those are the only ones I'm willing to celebrate. 606, 404, 202, 707. Those are all great, but I'm not pulling over my day and devoting it to listening to that kind of music. That's just me, though. Maybe someone else is a bigger fan of the 707. I think it's cool, just not going all the way. I know Salvo really likes the 606, which I really don't. But so, Doug, my impression so far of the MC707, and I've really only played with it a little bit today, is that it is so much like a Groovebox version of the TR-8S that I'm pretty sure, like, with an hour, I'll be able to do everything I need to on it. I also have an MC101, so I'm familiar with the sound set, and I really like that. The slicer works really good. The screen is really helpful. You know, screens aren't like new technology. There's some gear that have beautiful new screens. This has a screen on it. It's very useful, but it's still like kind of like an older style screen. I mean, it's just two colors. with some really useful contextual display work. There's the slicer that's on there. Yeah, there's the chord designer, and that's pretty cool. The pads on the 707 are way better than the 101 pads because they're velocity sensitive. They seem to work a little bit better. But mostly what strikes me about it is just how similar to the 101 it is. If you know how to use the 101, you should be able to pick up pretty quickly on the MC707. I don't know that I'm buying it. I'm pretty sure I'm not. I already have the 101, so I'm kind of pretty cool on the sound set of the Gear-8S, but I'm gonna tomorrow hopefully spend some time on it and really get to know it because it's a really nice, well-designed thing. It's a groove box. You literally can just use it. I don't think it replaces your Deluge. I think they're two totally different things. Deluge it's able to do so much more MIDI, so much more capability. It doesn't have the large sound generation. It doesn't have all the classic Roland sounds because it's not, people call the Deluge a groove box, but it's more of just a central piece that can be pushed into groove box turf. This is a groove box. It is the grooviest groove box on the market. It can be pushed into sort of central control turf, but that is not what it's there for. Every time you want to control another device, you give up a MIDI track. That said, I don't know, they could totally firmware update this thing and make it so that it, has another 8 or 16 external MIDI tracks, and then using one of them to control another device. That would be cool. I don't see why they don't do that. That sounds awesome, actually. But doesn't. 1 through 16? That's a decent question. I am not sure. I actually don't at all know what they'll do. Yeah, I'll experiment with it and see. I don't actually know what they all do. The beautiful thing about it is it's one device. So you grab one device and it has a really nice sound set, really good classic Roland tones on it. So you can grab one device and get pretty far. You guys want to see more of the studio in here?
Hold on. Yeah, basically all I was saying is that if Roland wanted to, they could take the 1 through 16 buttons underneath the channel selectors and just make those, channel routing so that you can say like, hey, I'm going to press number 9, and then that's going to activate MIDI channel 1.
Roland has thus far been pretty responsive for this generation. So I think it's already up to 1.2. They added a slicer, they added chord designer. They've been pretty good about showing people what they're up to and listening to feedback. Roland still gets into some nonsense territory. The whole Zencore thing to me is kind of nonsensical. I read the CEO's description of what it is and what it does. And it's like he was on vacation with some friends and someone brought a ukulele and he was so impressed by the compactness of the ukulele and how that ukulele could make music in the car while they were driving somewhere, and he wanted to do that for Roland, so all of Roland's next generation lines will be able to share a common sound set, only not really, but that's what Zencore is that a sound that is designed on 707 can play back on 101, can play back on Phantom, can play back on the new Jupiters.
The Zencore is a
ukulele, I don't know,
multi-timbral engine that combines virtual analog and PCM up to 256 voices of synthesis types with powerful DSP effects. Advanced synthesis features include VA oscillators, precisely modeled filters, ultra-fast and smooth LFO and envelope modulators, and high-resolution control of primary editing and performance features. So I'm guessing that this is just software that runs on a bespoke CPU.
But so check it out. They say that it's anchored by a large amount of DSP. There is some VA, and they say that you can transfer sounds from one to the next, and that's cool. But you can't really. There's no great way to do that.
Well, they might
Getting
not
a
have built a
sound
mechanism for it yet, but they're
Yeah, you got to
it
plug into your computer and like manually do it by hand, and then
yeah.
plug the other device in, and then move it over there, open it correctly, and then you got to hope it opens up correctly. And the different devices have different constraints that you cannot overcome. So, if you do something on the Phantom, you can't necessarily port it over to the 101. 101 only has 4 tracks. If you have more than 4 tracks, your project is just not going to open up on the 101. It
Yeah,
just
and
isn't.
in fact, here we go. The Zencore also supports instrument-specific Zencore expansions, including analog behavior modeling.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so basically that's what it is. It's software. And by the way, if anybody gets from the tone of my voice that I'm dismissing this, I'm not. I think it's cool, but I'm just putting it in perspective that they built a custom software engine that runs on some piece of silicon inside their synths, which makes them ultra flexible. Cool.
I think that all these are great devices. I think MC101 all the way up through the most advanced Phantom that like Nil 4K uses, and 707. I think they all actually have their own place as well. I think the Jupiter line is fantastic and fun to play. I think the Jupiters are too expensive, but that's a different story. I think they're fantastic devices. I'm just saying that the CEO's description of Zencore, what Zencore is, and how he's inspired to do Zencore, is like some serious pie in the sky nonsense. There's no way on earth that he was actually inspired by a friend's ukulele to make these devices that awkwardly have some similar things. Like, these are cool devices that stand on their own. You don't need to try to like anchor it to some weird like lifestyle brand nonsense copy that you came up with to describe how you arrived at your new product lines. I mean, the new Phantom's new Phantom. Phantom existed prior to the new Phantom. Okay, their flagship synths are Jupiter. That's something they announced also, is that from now on, everything that is their number one flagship top of the line is going to have the Jupiter title. But they did the wrong thing where they said that's, by the way, how it's always been. That is not how it's always been. That is just not true. Even last generation, it was System 8. So they had a workstation that was Jupiter, and then before that, there was nothing named Jupiter. And so, but okay, that's what that is now. Fine, I can be okay with that. Moonhouse is the only person who can make a uke cool. Moonhouse certainly makes the uke cool. I think he's awesome at it, but I think ukuleles are pretty cool. It's not an uncool. It's not like, for example, a theremin where you lose all your cool points if you play on one.
Or a guitar.
A guitar, yes.
Yeah, guitars and theremins, they're right up there. I mean, because if you get the theremin, it has to be on the little stand, like it's the little mic stand thing, and then you need to wear some very flowy outfit so that you look like you come from like an ABBA music video or something, and then wiggle your hands a lot.
Shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's possible to
Real quick, just so Earth Moon doesn't get confused. Like a good chunk of the people who are watching this show and participating in it all have theremins, so it's a bit of an inside gag that it's super uncool.
Yeah. I wish I had a better theremin. My theremin actually does suck. I have the MIDI theremin thing, the Zeppelin one, that it was way too hard to program because every single time you turned it on, it didn't save like 2 of the settings that you need to save it. So it just ended up being kind of a waste. But I would kind of like to actually have just a real theremin, just because I think it's totally wonderful, geeky, and a blast to the past. Let's see. A Bridgewater doesn't have a theremin, but I've been looking at schematics for them every so often.
Build one. Do it.
I fully believe A Bridgewater could build a theremin, 100%.
Mm-hmm. They're not even.
However, think that you got to get your DX7 finished first, man.
Yeah, they're not even that complicated. I mean, there's some parts for sure, and there's some tuning that you got to do, but they're not that complicated.
I think that if you have both a theremin and a guitar, you become a virgin again.
What's the MIDI T?
MIDI T.
No, Google, I didn't mean MIDI transfer speed. The T MIDI
Oh,
or
you
or the
DX7 to CZ1 and TX802 that you need to fix?
or the Vogue MIDI T wood burning stove. Here it
MIDI
comes.
Theremin.
Come
He's
on.
talking about MIDI Theremin. We overthought
Oh,
that one.
I really want this page to load so bad.
We overthought that one, kind of like how Uli overthought insulting journalists.
Oh, this is terrible. Stovax, your site sucks. I don't know what to tell you. Oh well.
Hey, we got a YouTuber we wanted to put a little spotlight on.
Are we going there?
I think we should. That just the snippet you played for me earlier was awesome.
Okay.
And we can leave it to chat. So to chat, there's a YouTuber we found, and you know how like this is like synthesizer world and people love synthesizers, and then over here is like similar. It's like recording production world, and they intersect a lot. Not entire intersection, but that if you're a really big synthesizer person, you probably know some production stuff. You may even have a DAW that you're really familiar with and good at. And on the other hand, if you're like a really big production person, you probably can patch a synth and have run into them a lot. And there's the Venn diagram has a bunch of overlap. Anyway, co-found this pretty awesome YouTuber. He's well known, I think, in the recording YouTube world. But not in our synth-centric world.
Yeah. So, and keep in mind too, I thought that when I stumbled upon this person, I thought it was an act at first. I honestly thought that it was a gag that he was doing, like what's the FPS Russia? Have you ever seen that guy on YouTube or anything? Anyway, so I thought it was a gag, and I started watching some of his stuff, and it was kind of funny. And then I'm like, well, he's actually dropping some decent knowledge, but he's like a cross between like the machismo of like a Donald Trump, and then also kind of very gaggy like FPS Russia. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. But I kept watching and kept watching because the videos were interesting and well done. And turned out, no, he's totally legit. It's just, I found it funny. And I'm sorry in advance. His name is Andrew Zeleno. Do check out his channel, because it is cool. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat in appreciation. But just check it out.
Not everybody can achieve very big victory in their life. It's very rare. I made it, and right now I feel like I need to share this experience. I need to share this knowledge. When I was like 22 or 23, I remember how I was reading a lot of books about how easy to achieve any goal in your life. You shouldn't struggle, you shouldn't fight for it, you just should lay on your back and you just need to imagine the picture how you achieve this goal, how you get what you want, and you will get it. I don't know, maybe for someone it can work, but for me it doesn't work. People like me should work very hard to achieve any big goal. And it's not a sprint, it's like marathon. It's about how many effort you can put every day in your life. It's not like I believe in this goal. When you work on it maybe a couple of years, there is a lot of days when you want to give up. I understood you can achieve every goal in your life. The question is how many blood and tears you could put on it. A lot of people was telling me, you cannot achieve these goals, you don't have that amount of money, you don't know English. Who cared about their opinions? So what it takes to win? Who can get victory? Those who believe in this victory more than others, and the most important, longer than others. You work on it and work on it. Day by day, when everybody gave up, you still believe in your victory. And that's why you win. Yeah, of course, on the paper you fight against your enemies or your circumstances. But in reality, in fact, you always fight with your doubts, with your laziness. You always fight with yourself.
Could you imagine what it takes to win? I try so hard and I defeat my fear. And I'm the strongest that you ever seen. And I'm alive like in a movie scene.
So yeah, that was actually like the most serious I've ever seen him. but it's all that. Just imagine compressed mixing and production advice. Like a more common video might look something like this. There we go.
Know that real analog devices have tolerance. It means if you take even a couple of equalizers on SSL console, one equalizer green up, let's say, in position 5K and you boost it, other SSL equalizer you put 5K and you boost it, in reality it may be like on one channel it's, let's say, 4K, and on the other channel it can be, let's say, 6K. So you have actually pretty huge tolerance. In most situations you can actually match sound between black knob and brown knob. So let's say on a green band I have 3K, I boost it, let's say, over here to the second point. When I switch to brown knob, if it was really 3K, now it can be 2.5K, or it can be 2K. So by just simply adjusting frequency, let's say you just rotate it a bit to the right and you make it 3.54, actually you will not hear any difference between black knob and brown knob. Of course, if you just click on this button, you're gonna hear different sound because you simply have tolerance, you simply changed 3K to 2K. Of course, it sounds different. So it's pretty good, like additional feature, but I wouldn't exaggerate it that much like plugin manufacturers.
Yeah, so he will drop some knowledge. It's all useful stuff for the most part. A lot of it's, kind of more basic mixing stuff because one of his go-to remarks is, you guys yell at me in the comment that I only drop 30% of the knowledge. Of course it's only 30%. The other 70% is in my course. Sign up for my course and you can learn all the secrets. So yeah, bit of a showman. Again,
he clearly knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff, yeah, and for sure. But his videos are well done. They're entertaining, and you'll even learn some stuff. So if you're into mixing, into production, like the super nerdy stuff, like breaking down like how plugins respond between different versions or the tolerances on specific frequency selectors, this is your guy. Also, he'll entertain you if you're into that Chekhov voice.
I'm trying to think if do I have room to get into plugins like that? Like, I feel like I'm there on synth. That's where I throw.
Well, if you ever want to, a great starting point, there is a plugin called Plugin Doctor, which basically is a back-end analyzer. So nice. You go ahead and you launch like Plugin Doctor, and then you launch your VST or whatever plugin you have, and it puts hooks into it so that it can read the actual data that's being transmitted back and forth kind of passively like a tap, and then can look at it and say like, okay, when it says that it has an analog response with this type of shelf, like 6 dB per octave or something, what's it actually doing under the hood? And then it'll show you and analyze it. It'll be like, yeah, well, it does that. Actually, it has a little bit of a resonance right here, and there's also this extra data that's sending to your DAW that's doing this other thing, and yeah. So that's the thing. You can get super nerdy.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's an Amber Alert.
Uh-oh.
That was my wife.
Yeah, dude is prolific, though, and he puts out a lot of content. So if you're into mixing, mastering, production, and even just kind of on the surface, peruse through, take a look at just some of the titles. A lot of them are very flashy and showy, like, the ultimate secret to fill in the blank. And again,
that first video you posted made me want to go do push-ups and have a montage moment and get better and level up on everything I do.
You got to level up your life, man. You got to stop. Yeah. I love it's you're fighting against your doubts and your laziness. You fucking lazy ass American. Do more push-ups.
Yep. He's hardcore.
Hardcore.
I like that. Getting into plugins is something that is tough for me. I love the synthesizer stuff. I don't love the plugin stuff.
He does gear too.
Some of it I do like a lot.
Yeah, he does. He does gear too, but all mix-centric gear. So rack compressors, channel strips, processors.
That stuff's awesome. I'm surrounded actually by that stuff. Justin has an insane collection over here. He has analog compressors and Avalon preamps and stuff. And downstairs, he has a stack of old Digidesign stuff that Digidesign made obsolete. It's like 10, 19 rack units, like the 192 IOs,
can
$2,000
you-
a piece.
Can you give us a quick perusal of his compressors?
Yeah.
What's he got? What kind of 1176? What kind of LA2A? What you got going on there? Got Pultec.
All right. So first off, this room is gorgeous. If you guys are able to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually fit you to go big. There we go.
And hold on, let me refocus in, because I would like to. I need a better way to see everything. So hold on, because looking through it a moment later is actually. All right. So this room, that's a bass trap.
Nice.
Yeah. So the room, that's just like a console desk for people to work on. We made a mess of it, but it's like a ton of cables. Here's my matriarch. It's literally on top of his icon. And we ran Ableton all day. That's to answer your question, Doug, though he does have lots of things. So he doesn't even really use the icon anymore because he's not recording bands at this exact moment. So here's all his machines.
Machine Studio, Machine Jam.
Here's his racks. Let's see if we can get those.
It's an errant Technics 1200.
Yeah, right. It still has the rubber mat on it.
Nice. What do we got going on in the rack there?
Reverbs, preamps, Nev preamps, Avalon preamps, lots of tube, bass gear, hardware compressors.
And what are the compressors? Can you get your even just eyeballs? Like you don't necessarily have to get the camera in there.
500 volt. This one called a Millennium, which I've never even heard of. I don't know what the 500 volt is.
What's
that?
that?
Might actually be a channel.
What's that one on the right with all the knobs in the top? It's like a 2U or 3U.
API thing. 500 volt. I think that's a channel strip.
Nice.
Is 2 Apollos. Huge patch bay. It's all gorgeous too.
That is pretty.
Then so here's.
Nice.
He's got stereo pair of these things. These are custom built in, but he actually prefers the Atoms.
And what kind of Atoms? Some A8Xs or S series? Yeah, those are A8Xs. Nice.
Yep.
Those are very nice.
Let's take a walk.
Have a good night, IX. Theremin and guitar. You got the total package, sir. And a fez. And a fez with a fez on it. Roger that, First Moon. Ooh, look at that ceiling. That's pretty.
Well, I'm going to turn the brightness up on my computer just so I can get a little bit of extra light in here. Because it's crazy, yo. Hold on. Maybe I won't turn the brightness up. All right, fuck it. I'm just going to look at how we can. That's where we just were. This room is huge. That's the ceiling, acoustic foam tiling, but like not like Orlex. We're talking like really high-end professional stuff. Curtains for tuning the room. Sound. These are all booths. It's like a vocal booth. This is like a piano room. Check this out. It might even be visible. I might need to get my phone, but yeah, hold on. I'll get my phone. But it's like a piano room that is to die for. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've lost Dan's camera.
Oh no. What the crap happened there?
Unless everything you're looking at right now is a gray box with a camera with a line through it, in which case, interesting styling. Up, you're back.
The hell happened there? All right, hold on.
I don't think they would do a grandma or lighting rehearsals in that space, Doug. It's really designed for recording. It is a large space for recording, but still, it's not like a rehearsal hall.
I don't think I'm even getting enough light to show you.
And no, we are using a service called Whereby, because I can do neat stuff like this and change our orientation in all kinds of interesting ways, and then I can retool us in all different directions, which is really nice. So
it's like here's a glass wall, and then there's the control room over there. It's hard to show you in here, but there's a beautiful Yamaha piano in here. It's 40 years old in mint condition, with an entire room just for a piano. There's vocal booths and other booths for like guitars and stuff. For some reason, there's a door up there. I don't know why, but there is. Anyway, Justin designed it all. He has a very good eye for lighting and interior design, and making a space that is incredibly comfortable for people to be in and be creative. And that was really his goal and intention when he got this place built back when it was still Soundtrack Studios.
Yeah, that place is pretty.
Yep. It's also a little bit different than his current goals. That's also part of what he's going through. Is some of it is very much relevant to what he's doing next, but some of it is like, he's not planning on recording bands, and he's not planning on recording choirs and doing albums the same way that he has been. So he doesn't need a lot of what is built in here. All right, let's see what do we got in comments. Could you add a grandma or similar console to program lighting for rehearsals? I linked the lighting console to Ableton Bitwig to follow a time code. I don't really know too much about the grandma unless you're talking about the Moog one.
You remember the grandma. That was the console that Mike was talking about getting.
The Roadhog?
Oh, and this was after the Hog. There was the Hog, and then he switched to
he was
grandma.
talking about getting the Roadhog. You're talking about Burger Mike?
Yeah, what Doug's talking about, and if you've ever seen or been around larger band experiences, oftentimes before they get ready to tour, or if they're gonna basically anytime they're gonna go out and play live, and it's a larger production that actually has a lot of people that all need to orchestrate and work together, like a front of house person, a sound guy, you have your your monitor engineer, you might have guitar techs. There's like all these people that all need to know their place and do their thing. You'll often rent out a rehearsal hall, which will sometimes be like an additional very large room at a local arena or stadium or some other, like concert hall type place. You'll rent that out for maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, set everything up just like you were doing the actual show. Label everything. You're figuring out where all the cables go. You're finding out what works and what doesn't work. You're going through the routine. You're playing the show a couple 10, 20, 40 times just to see like, oh, okay, well, when I walk on stage left and I do this with my guitar, does that, hit my bassist in the face or something? Like, you need to get all that stuff worked out. And one of the things that they'll also work out is lighting. So you will set up the whole lighting rig. You'll have your lighting console, whether that's a grandma or Hog or whatever it is. And you'll do that, but that is not a thing that you'll generally do in a recording studio. Recording studio is a place that, is expensive because you're renting it generally by the hour or by the session, and it has a lot of super expensive equipment. It's not there for you to sling cables and like blow off pyro and figure out your lighting. For that, you want a space that is literally a concrete box.
Yep.
away from everybody
Giant
else.
warehouse.
Yeah, so that you're not giving away what the show is to anybody else, and you're figuring it out, getting all the snags out before you perform in front of people. So, Fran94, thank you for the follow and welcome.
Thank you for the follow, Fran94. Doug, so is he mostly a PC or Mac user? He's a Mac user. He has one of the trash can Macs, the Darth Vader ones right there.
Nice.
He is, however, like had it with Mac. The new generation and the pricing on it is just way too absurd.
Eye-watering.
It pushed him to the edge.
Absolutely eye-watering. And the fact that they went with Intel was just like, oof.
That this is a commercial production studio for recording artists means that it has to be a Mac. That way you have interoperability with mastering and mixing houses and other industry folks, so you can have some level of portability as well. So to operate a studio like this, you just don't really have a choice. The industry is standardized, and that's the way it is. Him personally, though, as he's getting deeper into doing production and writing his own music again and kind of taking this new approach, he's thinking about building a computer, basically. So it'll be a lot like computers we all have. My guess is it's probably going to be a pretty hot
Threadripper
custom build desktop.
Fuck yeah.
Yep. I asked him if he was going to get the, what was it? There's like a computer monitor from Mac that costs $1,000. And he was like,
No. The stand cost $1,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. The stand costs $1,000. My bad. I
Yeah.
thought it was the whole.
No, it's not some $1,000 monitor like those PC plebs. No.
Yep.
Let's see. How much is that thing? Let's see. The Mac Pro monitor. I forgot what the hell it is. The Pro Display XDR. Let's see. Believing is seeing, Apple says.
There's 0% chance.
So you can pick it up with the standard glass for only $5,000. Or you can get the nano textured glass where they put a texture on the front of it so it doesn't have glare. Like they didn't design it right the first time, so they're going to charge you an extra $1,000 so you can get the one that isn't glary. And then if you need to actually put it on something that isn't the wall, then that's only $1,000 more. How much is the vase amount? Vase amount is $200. So yeah, you can get this piece of aluminum that attaches to the back of the monitor so you can hang it on something for only $200. So for $5,000, you get a very reflective, very nice screen that you have to lean up against something. And then you can augment it for an additional $200 to hang it on something, or an additional $1,000 to put it on your desk. And then if you don't want it to be all glary, that's an extra $1,000. There we go. We've covered it.
Not even kidding. Those are like Fantasyland prices. That's like luxury products that only rich people can afford.
That's the thing. It's not that
like
luxury. It's a nice monitor. It's a very nice monitor with a panel built by LG. Just buy the LG one. It costs $2,000.
Well, I mean, it's like
It's not magic. It's an LG panel.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's like a Tommy Hilfiger shirt that costs $500, but it's still just a white shirt,
Well, at least with the Tommy Hilfiger shirt, you get like the Tommy Hilfiger logo on it. With this one, where's the Apple logo?
Well,
on the stand, maybe. More. Yeah, you get it. That's why the stand costs $1,000. It has an Apple logo on it. I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate Apple. I just hate this product. I think this is really stupid. I like the display. It's very, very nice. You need a lot of horsepower to run it. What's that?
So check this out. Well, just kind of like a larger thesis. One of the reasons I love analog is matriarch is going to be matriarch is going to be matriarch. In 40 years from now, it's still going to sound as sweet. On the other hand, you have very digital stuff like push or machine. This stuff's really great. Or the Icon console right here. And so I talked to Justin about it. This Icon console is a pretty amazing console. And it was 6 figures when it came out. And a lot of the features on the new Avid Pro Tools don't work on it. $1,000, and like this is a studio for which it probably paid itself off pretty quickly because of the rate they charge, right? But it was also, I mean, it was just a controller. It looked like one of the big boards, like
Wait, was
it
it designed for Pro Tools?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I noticed. Was it when Avid took over Pro Tools, or was it all Avid?
This came out before.
Okay, that's probably because that's a thing that I've noticed because I have paid attention to it. I'm not a Pro Tools user, but you have to pay attention to it because they're the industry standard, and they'll often set the standard kind of trickle down. And some of the stuff they do is downright kind of user hostile, with things like audio interfaces, offload cards, controllers, mixer interfaces. Like it's all kind of like, hey, we decided to change direction, so fuck you, buy new stuff. It's like, what? Oh, also all the stuff that you have to buy, it's just like all the other stuff on the market, except it costs 10 times more because we know you're making money with it. It's like, cool.
Yeah. So so I remember in like when I was with my band Genius many years ago, I think 2011, we recorded an album at Boda Studios, and that was a really nice studio. They had an SSL console. The difference between SSL console and this console, SSL console actually handles the sound, right? It's an SSL, whereas this is basically just a big glorified MIDI controller. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. And they probably paid off this thing, a decade
times
ago.
Over, yeah.
So for them, it probably wasn't a big deal. But Justin was like, yeah, I barely even use it now. It doesn't have full compatibility with the newest Pro Tools, and doesn't work at all for the artistry that he's approaching right now, and he's not going to go get the new one, and he kind of fell out of using it. So the other thing is the big large format console recording studio concept kind of passed by, and what it was really there for is to bridge the skill set of older people who had been professionals working in recording studios and got used to working that way, and newer people and newer technology, but it's mostly kind of unnecessary. And so what you start seeing is like there's now NEV consoles for people who work within DAWs that are like 8-track bus mixing final consoles that then you'd offload onto tape, and they do sort of like that analog final processing glue piece and bus levels, and you still have to do a controller to get levels within your DAW.
I haven't really looked around, but I would assume just from taking it all in that those giant consoles, I'm thinking, will kind of shrink down to just, there'll still be some channel strips physical for sure, because that's really freaking useful. Like, could you imagine loading up your SSL G channel but having it like on your desk and you can just turn the knobs? Like, that's awesome. But just, have like maybe 8 channels or something, and then a quick selector to just, or whatever you focus on, it just automatically maps to it or something. Because the whole idea of having like one-to-one mapping, like, it made sense in an analog world. In a digital world, it's just kind of weird. I don't know, seems unnecessary. But then again, I don't do it every day, so I defer to somebody like Justin. Real quick, to answer OpenSet's question, for your $4,000 for the glary one, because you're a pleb and you didn't get the matte finish screen, you do get the Glary Pro Display XDR. You get a power cord, which is 2 meters long. The US version is shown here. You get an Apple Thunderbolt 3 Pro cable. It's a little bit different than the Thunderbolt 3 cable. This one's Pro. The pros use it.
An extra $200 for the Pro.
No, this comes with it. At the price tag. You get a polishing cloth. And that's it. So, you're going to need a cardboard box or maybe a piece of foam to lean the monitor up against, but you do get a polishing cloth. So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, that polishing cloth really makes the difference, right? So what Justin said he uses more than the Icon board is he bought the Softube control surface. It's right here.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I thought that the Softube might be a little bit too restrictive, but if it's working for him, then that's awesome. Having something that can be, kind of moves with your focus, I'd assume. Hopefully we can see.
Yeah, he loves it. So it's one track. Each one is a track.
Yep.
It's not per function per track. and the way it automates is it has LEDs that go around each knob, and it has the soft tube compressor, and it has the soft tube EQ and shaper and everything that you'd see normally on a full channel strip and see 80 of, but it's one. And so when you want to address what's on another track or another page, you have to page to it and then you use it. And it's much smaller and it's all software controlled. And so you'd want to build up a template that has the soft tube channel strip on every single channel, and it maps very easily, and it works like that.
Is it
That's
the
awesome.
the soft tube one?
I don't know.
Here, I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, I'll be able to tell you.
I mean,
looking at it right now.
the keyboard that we keep looking at is very nice. I love the pink keys, but
No, it's not that one.
not this one. Okay.
This keyboard actually is kind of awesome. This is not enough room to type on it, but it's a mechanical clacker.
Oh,
Which one is?
tube?
It's all knobs. It was almost the one you showed, but just all knobs. And I would actually consider getting it. So right now I'm using Push, and Push is awesome for it's awesome for getting ideas in and for jamming. It's awesome for creativity. You can do some mix down stuff, but it's not like it's not born that way. Whereas, like, I think this would be better once I'm done with the track and arrangement, and then do mix down on it. And mix down, you can take, if you're really good at it, you take hours and hours, and you go channel to channel to channel, and then you go back and do them all again. That's kind of how I view this as being a valuable product, is for that kind of final shaping, and it's all hands-on. Let me see if I can find the name of the product for you, Bill.
There we go. It's the Console One non-fader.
Yes, this is it. Yep. Yeah, and it seems like it works really well.
Nice.
And yeah, that's what he's using instead of this gigantic icon. The icon right now is literally just holding up our synths. It's hysterical. It's just,
and the matriarch is not
standard.
particularly light.
Nope. Icon's huge though. He has like two coffin edges on it so that it doesn't get damaged. He's taking good care of it, but he's definitely not using it for what it was supposed to be used for. This thing, however, I think is like a relatively the future. You're going to see that, like this soft tube, plus you're going to see like a final bus mixer in a lot of studios, which is like that 8-channel Nave bus mixer that then goes to a final mixdown source somehow, which might indeed on its own just be a few more tracks inside your DAW.
Speaking of little what's it called, consoles or little final bus mix things, have you seen this little SSL 6? I believe they were talking about it. They were talking about it the other day on what was it? Sonic Talk. Yeah, Gaz was talking about it. He did a whole little thing on it. But yeah, it's kind of neat. Before I would have looked at this and been like, $1,500 for that janky little mixer? You can suck up. But now after kind of diving deep into some of the SSL stuff, okay, I get it. It's still probably a little bit marked up due to the name, but hey, it has the SSL character. It has those EQs. It has all the tools. The EQ, like the shelving EQ, the compressor, the gate expander, and the routing. So yeah, kind of cool.
That is awesome. I would consider like a Duende kind of, as well, as all you're looking for is the SSL sound and then the hands-on. There is, I believe it's the Nev project. Look up the Nev Design 5060. I believe that we're going to see this soft tube controller and then this next to each other quite a bit in the future.
Interesting.
It's expensive, but it's not expensive like an Icon is or a full SSL board.
Wait,
and
is it just?
It's a file mixdown. So you'd take everything out of your DAW and plug it into here, and it has impeccable pre's, and it has all the high-end Nev processing in order to get that final level of saturation and crunch that is so sought after, the sound of like their large format consoles. And then you would output this to something else for final print, either tape or back into your DAW on an additional 2 tracks stereo pair.
Are they still using tape for anything other than the character?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
it's too expensive.
Well, and it just doesn't make any sense.
It's too hard too. Yeah, there's like I think 1 or 2 studios out there that like that's their niche, is you come here to record on tape. But it's
yeah, but you're doing that.
expensive.
You're doing that for character. You're not like the digital format's going to be perfect, and you don't have to physically carry anything or mail anything or courier anything out to a place to have things produced.
Well, it goes with like almost the motif of the band. I think the White Stripes did an album like that, and the concept there was the white stripe. It's a guitar into a combo amp and a 3-piece drum kit. It's this kind of raw, garagey minimalism, and that's what they're aiming for. And so hitting tape pretty hard it fits. You wouldn't expect anything else. It would almost be an affront to the White Stripes to suggest that they should record into a DAW. So for the White Stripes, it really makes sense. That's kind of who they are and what they do. Now, regarding other bands considering doing it that aren't big, rich, and famous, it's probably prohibitively expensive because you have to buy the tape, and that is more and more rare. And then the other thing is masters are harder to manage afterwards. So,
Yep.
I mean, we covered that fire that happened in 2008, but the reason why that fire is able to do that is because if you have digital backups, you can throw them on the cloud, right? If you're a band, you can take digital backups and
3, 2, 1. You have 3 copies of your data on at least 2 different, or at least 2 different locations, and one of them, and one of them should be what the hell? I can't remember. One of them should be
tape
online, something like that.
Oh, I thought you were going with LTO.
No, just it should be managed somewhere else entirely. Like, sure, you can have like an optical backup and a hard drive, or like 2 optical backups, and but exactly.
So you can't do that with tape. I mean, I guess you could like copy the tape afterwards,
but then you have generation loss. Yeah,
you actually get generation loss. Yeah, so that's why that's so tragic. You can't back it up at all. And you have to use a service for backing it up. You can't. You can stick it in a warehouse, but it has to be a warehouse that is specialized, which means when you're not even there, you have to like literally pay for that kind of thing to happen, and that's also kind of nonsensical.
Yep, times change, and
it
would change along with it. And this is a very good change, in my opinion. Also,
I think overall DAWs are good. I like this Nev console because it says, okay, the DAW is much more flexible. It's much more economical, but for your final character, run it through here, get your final mix down here. Let's hit that, and then really go for just the ultimate in tone. Meanwhile, you have a much better level of control coming from devices like the Softtube MK3.
Yeah, that character thing is important. Character, and then physicality for being able to make movements rapidly and really feel things in. Like, I get it. It's DJing, or it's anything else. Hey, David Miner, what's going on? Welcome, Raiders.
Hey, David, what's happening?
But I think that it's even true why a lot of people still have, even though they're fully in the box, they might have a compressor or pre or something that they use that is hardware, and they selected a very specific one because they're comfortable with it, or because it has a certain sound and they like that sound. And you can get real close. I mean, look at that Shadow Hills compressor. It's like, yeah, that thing sounds awesome. And the hardware also sounds awesome, and it has real knobs. So that's cool.
Justin apparently had one. They sold it though.
Yeah.
Hey, David. So the session was pretty good. We spent a lot of time getting hooked up, but I'm here for at least 2 more days. So we're gonna do some different stuff tomorrow, and we got like half of a really nice kind of arped out electronica thing going, and we've done some just pure gear fun and geeky things, and we're gonna actually hook up some mics tomorrow because he has just absolute gorgeous microphone technology here. He's got a really nice vocal booth and really nice high-end mic collection and preamps, and so gonna get to just like experience all that and have basically like the you know what it was we didn't have MIDI cables, so syncing up my 2 analogs that I brought was just out. It was just right out. So we had to wait until this morning to go get it, and then he was trying out Studio One. He actually bailed, and we ended up just using Ableton. So we spent like an hour working out, trying to get the MIDI profile working there. Full disclosure, I don't use Studio One. I don't really have a dog in this race, but getting the MIDI setup there was so much more complex than just developing normal external instruments and just clicking the MIDI stuff that you need on within Ableton. It took 5 minutes in Ableton and like an hour and a half to get it going in Studio One. He doesn't want to work in Pro Tools because that's what he works in every single day. So he wants to really work on something that can help him get outside the box. And then tomorrow we're going to focus in on just Machine. That way we don't even have to look at the computer at all. But yeah, it took a little bit of time getting everything set up. I think that was more just because he's been in engineering zone for so long and not in like MIDI world, and I'm kind of a MIDI clown, so I brought a bunch of stupid MIDI gear out. It was fun though. It was great hanging out with him. Some of the music was pretty good. We should have from this session at least like one really cool track to share, so that's going to happen, and when I get back I'll be able to share that around. So we shall see though. You never know when creativity is going to explode or when it's going to run dry. So, but we're having fun. That's kind of the whole point. Having fun, seeing what our fingers come up with, and what what inspiration happens and takes us places. And we're goofing off a lot too. So, Thank you for asking, though. All right, going back to Doug. I think you had a question about the cork sniffer. Oh, cork sniffer affair. Let's go back further then. Tape machine manufacturers have dropped support for their machines. Yep. There's, by the way, here in the basement, and I'll post these pictures in the Discord later, like 5 tape machines, including reels. It's wild. Thinking of the cork sniffer affair, Electron uses Cool Audio VCA's music group company in the Analog 4. Do you think some companies will move away from using their parts? I think they already have. Jump back on that one. I'm pretty sure that they decided to spend the extra $5 and get the original. And I know that Dave Smith converted all their synths off of those parts like a year or two ago after some of the more aggressive moves by Uli into the synthesizer market, some of the more ethically questionable ones as well. So I know that a lot of those parts had support dropped, and I know even more people, not because of the cork sniffer affair, but because of the Devilfish mod affair, are no longer buying from Uli on the parts level. So for those who aren't familiar, the Devilfish mod is a distortion-based mod that is kind of like a homebrew but commercialized thing for 303s to make them sound really raw and screechy. It's a famous sound. So that guy, I'm sorry, not the Devilfish mod. My bad. I need to backtrack on it. It wasn't Devilfish. It was who makes the ones with the rounded edges? Who's the 303 boutique maker that does the clone?
The bass bot and I know what you're talking about. Yeah, Cyclone.
So what they did is, the Cyclone. The Cyclone guys do a clone. It's a boutique clone of 303. One version looked a lot like the 303. Roland asked them to change that, so they did. Roland didn't ask them to cease production. They said make it not look like that anymore. So now it has a much different look. And one of the things they did electrically was they found they didn't have the access to the same components as were out back in the 80s when the 303 came out, so they had to do their own mod in order to beat the electrical signal up to get it that way. And they did that, and they bought the components. They had them designed, and their partner in it was one of Music Tribe's subsidiaries, one of Uli Behringer's companies that makes parts. And then when they did the TD3, they opened it up and saw like schematically, it was the same exact thing. In other words, they just ripped off the design from one of their customers for how to do this mod in order to make it match the same electrical characteristics that were found in the original 303 that lead to that sound. If you rip off your customers and go into the same market and you just literally, you're not even like doing your own engineering, you're just copying it, that's fucked up. And that sent a big time signal to a lot of people. And then Uli had the audacity to say that it was, what was it? You explained this, Ko. You got it better. The open source bullshit thing that Uli said.
Yeah, when he said that hardware can't be licensed or copyrighted or anything, and so your open source license that I did not adhere to, it doesn't matter because it's not real anyway, so whatever. You only asked me to give attribution when I used your design, but I used it anyway, and I didn't give you attribution, and you can eat a dick because whatever, because hardware licenses aren't real.
Their mod didn't have a hard to overcome license on it at all. It was an open source license, which is a thing no matter what Uli says. And they said the only condition was attribution for their design work. They just wanted credit. They didn't even say that you couldn't do it. They just wanted credit, and Uli wouldn't even do that.
You could even just say design adapted from.
Like they looked it up. Someone opened it up, saw the design. There's no way it was a mistake. No way someone came upon it like the same exact way. It was just a straight ripoff from his customer.
No, because it even had the mistakes that he corrected in later versions.
Way, Doug, of saying that when that happened, everyone who was still a Behringer customer who makes synthesizers like perked up and said, holy shit, by being their customer, all of our hard work is like at stake. It's a threatening situation. And so I'm sure Uli was fine with this because he still has everyone's designs, but a lot of businesses switched off of those components. Obviously balanced out on the other side by the fact that Uli started selling synthesizers into that market. I mean, there was a new customer for those parts. It was himself. Yeah, I don't think that Electron is still buying that stuff from him. I would be pretty surprised if they were. They're also a big aggressive company. They're smart. They're not going to give out the magic sauce to Uli anymore. That's my thought on the matter.
The magic sauce.
Yep. There always got to be a magic sauce. If there isn't a magic sauce, then what's the fucking point? All right, that's pretty much what I got going on. Oh, it's 11:33. Didn't really prepare much else for the show though. Just wanted to kind of show you guys around the studio. I know we have some stuff coming up that's pretty cool. This weekend might be a little bit devoid though. So on that note, Beat Theory will still be playing. I will not be playing this Saturday. I would like to, but if I am of energy, I'm going to be going to a rave to see Mr. Coherence play in the meat space.
The meat space.
I will risk the COVID-19 and head on out there to do that. Next month on the 10th, Edmund and I are playing Northern Lights up in Milwaukee. So we're playing with Plumbus. We're breaking out the Plum Box. So those are two very, very cool meat space gigs that are coming up. The Plum Box should get us out there a lot more often as well. And there may be another show or two in the works there. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else is going on. Tomorrow is Thursday, but I think that right now it's Infotray and Brad. And Open Door, just in case Ko ever wants to return on there, is offered. So everyone be poking Ko and say, hey, please return on Thursdays. We'd love to hear you again. Yeah, Saturday was pretty devoid. Tatchet will be on again on Friday. As always, Escape Velocity Fridays. So there's plenty to tune into. There's a lot of great shows. Salvo is still on his near streak. In fact, he's going right now with 14 people. We're done here unless Trem is on. We'll probably end up raiding you on over there. And he's making patches every single night, so make sure you drop by and say hi there. Salvo, regular on our show and always does just amazing stuff. He's worth hanging out, and he loves talking, going over what's going on in his head with people. And that about covers it, unless I missed something. Columbus will be back next Monday. That's definitely still happening. I have 2 tracks. Scott Denisi has a release coming out. That's cool.
He does
Plenty of people-
indeed. With
One day
remix
I will finish my remix on that. I don't know if I'm going to make it in for the deadline, though. I've
With
just been...
remixes by Dan Kushner, by me, and by Slaughterhouse.
Yep. We shall see if I finish my remix. So here's the thing. Every time I sit down to work on his remix, I get a lot of inspiration for an idea that totally doesn't work for his remix. And I've now completed 3 tracks when I should have been doing his remix.
See also the Grimes thing that happened the other day, which was Scott's fault. Like, he chimed in and was just like, check out this Grimes track. Check out this remix I did. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then
All right,
didn't
what
work on the
happened there?
remix.
I only sort of followed. I've been crazy busy the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So what occurred there?
He just, he threw down this thing and said, hey guys, check out this little remix I did. And it was like, oh, that's cool. And then he posted a link to the original track, and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this track sounds like the future. It was really cool. It's a track called Violence by Grimes and IO. And as soon as I heard it, my brain kind of went, open the door. So I went in there and just started messing around with some stuff, and like an hour later had a thing, and was like, that was cool. And then that's been distracting me now because I keep going back to it and like tweaking it a little bit and like adding some
You
stuff.
literally have done a bootleg Grimes remix?
Yeah.
What happens if you delete the Grimes from it and make it just your own track? Does it fall apart, or is it
No,
require...
it's pretty cool. In fact, the Grimes part of it is very much tacked on at the end, because like I made this thing that actually, like, the intention at first was like, oh, this is an inspiring track, I'm gonna write something. And then when I was done, I was like, that wasn't it at all, but I like what came out. Like, this was a new, different thing. And then I'm like, oh yeah, we were doing the Grimes thing. So I laid the vocals on top of it, and I'm like, it works, kinda.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it was a nice exercise,
I've never
though.
gotten into Grimes. I'll check out the track. I'll listen to your remix.
The track is really, it's pop, but it's cool. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Maybe the video helps too. The video is very like a little mesmerizing.
Existing as pop is not itself a sin. It's when it's just
it's
cynical version
pop
of it.
electronica. You know, it's good. It's very well produced. Poptronica.
Is that a real word, or did we
No.
just invent that? I think poptronica is a word.
Probably.
Yeah, we didn't just invent it. That's a real thing.
If anybody is in the Chicagoland area, this weekend, like Dan said, I will be playing. There is a link to the event. Ghetto Mark, aka Mark Almeria, will be playing there. Danny the Wild Child, and then a bunch of other locals, which are some of them are pretty damn good. So come on down.
So just a quick note about Mark Almeria. The second rave I ever went to, he was the headliner at. I have such a place in my heart for that guy. He's fantastic. His music is fantastic.
Good guy.
He took a few years off. So he stopped playing for a few years. I think he had some minor hearing damage, and he just didn't want to be in loud environments anymore. I don't know what he did during those years, but then he got back into it, and now he does the Ghetto Mark thing, which is just normal Mark Almeria mixed, but he's playing like Ghetto Tech, which is like a dead style, by the way. Ghetto Tech, like Disco D, is literally no longer with us. DJ Assault, like, is he still playing his one hit? Like, did Ghetto Tech like survive somehow? I don't know, but Mark Almeria is playing an entire set of it this Saturday. So kind of interesting there. Definitely interesting to me to see a guy like that who was so influential back in the day still around. And if you see him, he looks exactly as old as he did 20 years ago. I don't really understand it. I would like to know what his diet is, because he is not aging at all. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when this picture is from, but it almost doesn't matter, because
it could be any time.
Yeah,
because he is not aging.
This might have been 15 minutes ago, or it might have been 15 years ago.
He looks like that. It's just all there is still to it.
Yeah.
Um, very good for him. I would
Yeah.
wish I did.
Absolutely.
Such a good DJ.
And super nice guy.
Super nice. His brother Carl, it was also a really good DJ here in Kansas City. There was a rave thrown by a gentleman named Joe Cummings, who hopefully the next day or two I'm going to see. I was very good friends with him when I lived here as well, and it got busted on the grounds of how it.
Fire
He
code.
got arrested for throwing a rave, basically, and Carl Amaria was the headliner. He never even got out of the hotel because it got busted before, and they arrested Joe, and Joe is like, he's a very, very smart guy, very savvy business person, and he immediately put like the entire police force and the sergeant on their heels for violating constitutional rights and things like that. And he won his case. He was featured on the cover later this year of later that year of like a Kansas City Reader style magazine for what happened and what's going on. Anyway, Carl Maria was the headliner to that. Mark Almaria, his brother, was a headliner back then as well, as playing tomorrow or Saturday. So it's really cool because it's this real tangible connection to the entirety, the huge span of the era of my loving this kind of music. So I'm really hoping that everything shakes loose and I'm able to get out there. Unless I'm not standing, I'll be there. Are you bringing your laser?
I am bringing both lasers.
Nice.
And I hear that PT is actually bringing out his lasers as well.
Yep. And what happened to him? He used to hang out with us.
I know. He just like dropped off for some reason. Apparently he's got a problem with one of his lasers. So I'm going to fix it and be like, you need to jump back on the Discord.
Yeah, you going to start streaming or what, dude? That's what you got to say to him.
Yeah,
he streamed like twice. And then he didn't come back on.
So
it was a shame because he really set it up nicely.
As a little bit more of a tease, if you are in the area, do come out to the show, not to see me, but to see the spectacle. So PT is bringing out two 20-watt full color lasers. I'm gonna have a 5 and a 3, and then I think the main stage is like 40,000 watts. What?
Lars built a whole new sound system. Yeah.
40,000 watts, and then I think the other two stages are 30 and 20 respectively. So,
well, those cabs are custom built. Lars built them himself. They have like custom lighting in it.
That's just a fraction of the system too.
Yeah,
that's just the mid bass cabs basically.
It should absolutely slap.
Yeah,
that's a thing the kids say. Did you guys know that? This really slaps. That track slaps.
I really
say that.
I like Tyler. He brought one to my attention, which was this Wangs. Like, oh, dude, this track Wangs.
I had not heard Wangs.
I love Wangs.
That now.
So good.
I just learned about slaps. I also learned about yeet, although I still don't really understand it.
Yeet's a multifunctional word, really. We discussed it at a family dinner the other day. It was like my extended family, and we were all sitting down for a meal, and we started discussing yeet, and we came up with like 6 different definitions that all checked out. So it can be both a positive and a negative, yeah. And it's a verb and a noun.
It's good then. It's about the context, not the actual word.
Yeah. It really depends on how you employ yeet.
All right, folks. This is a weird week because I'm in Kansas City, and I am on my own personal laptop. So unfortunately,
David Miner, it is totally Gen X anonymous.
Yeah, right.
All of those that made it, all those of us that made it under the wire of the millennial.
It's the boomer confessional. Except there's no boomers. My battery on my laptop, which is my camera here, is going to die in a few minutes.
How many minutes?
It looks like I got 3 minutes.
3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
And then my work laptop battery will be entirely depleted. And we couldn't get despite all this wonderful gear, we couldn't get he's got a DSLR and we just couldn't get it to show up as a webcam.
Dude, a 1099 yeet. That's what you need when you employ yeet. That's right. If you're Twitch streaming, you do the, the schedule what is it, SE or whatever, and the 1099G, and if you employ the yeet, then it's 1099 yeet or
The
1099Y.
declaration.
Or Y schedule YT. I like it. Well, regardless, who do we have hanging out?
Raid to Salvo. And
Salvo.
We'll get a message out to Trem and apologize for not quite getting them.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for dropping by tonight. Thank you, Dan, for making the effort from Justin's studio. That place looks amazing.
I'm 100% sure that Salvo is gonna raid out the Tremendum anyway.
We don't say
do it.
those
Stay away
words
from that.
here. Yeah, those are naughty words. That's like we allow Behringer to be spoken of, but the cam link, no. Just
That
no.
thing just is broken.
Nobody
and sucks.
deserves that kind of pain.
Yep. Yeah, the Camlink is a very bad piece of gear. Elgato makes some cool things, but the Camlink is bad. And regardless, we weren't going to get new gear, and for just trying to patch something up just because Dan is a crazy asshole who has a podcast that he forgot he had to do when he impulsively decided to take off a few days and make some music.
And Dan, I'll actually play out just the what's called the instrumental of the thing that I put together the other night because of the Grimes thing on the way out.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I will send you over to Salvo. He will treat you very nice. And we'll talk soon.
Very, very nice.
And
If you
hopefully
see
this
Tremendum, tell him we're sorry.